I never thought I'd be the kind of guy to get blindsided like this. But here I am, staring at my phone, stomach twisting so hard I think I'm going to be sick. It all started a week before the wedding. My fiancée, Lisa, was acting a little off, more distracted than usual, like she was hiding something. I chalked it up to pre-wedding nerves, but deep down I sensed there was more. Then I found the message. It was buried in my inbox, hidden between spam emails, a text from an unknown number. I almost deleted it at first, usual spam stuff, right? But then I saw the phrase that made my blood run cold. Can't wait to see you tonight, boss. My fingers froze on the screen. I read it twice, no, 3 times, just to make sure my eyes weren't fooling me. And then I saw the timestamp. That message was sent the week before our wedding. My stomach dropped. My mind raced. Lisa had been so perfect, so committed. I'd trusted her completely. I pictured her lying right to my face during our vows, smiling, saying I was the one she loved. How could she do this? How could she have kept it a secret? I was haunted by the thought of her betraying me so close to the happiest day of my life. I needed proof, something solid. I remembered her phone was always lying on the kitchen counter, her purse on the chair. I grabbed her phone while she was in the shower. My heart hammered against my ribs. I unlocked it, fingers shaky, and started scrolling. There, hidden in her messages, more than one conversation with her boss, Mark. Flirty, suggestive, outright inappropriate. I read texts about late nights, secret meetings at the office, plans for special weekends. Every message was like a punch to the gut. My palms went clammy. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind. How many times had I kissed her goodnight, told her I loved her? All of it was a lie. I felt sick, hot flushes crawling up my neck, my hands trembling as I held her phone. She'd betrayed me, lied to my face during our vows while I was planning our future. I sat down hard on the couch, trying to process what I'd found. My mind was a whirl of anger, confusion, and betrayal. The room felt too small, too suffocating. I'd always thought she was the one. And now I wondered how many other secrets she'd been hiding. The worst part was the feeling that I'd been so stupid, so utterly blind. I had missed the signs, her phone slipping out of her bag when she thought I wasn't looking, her quick evasive answers when I asked about her boss, Mark. Why did she do it? I kept asking myself. What was I missing? How could she sit there, lie through her teeth during the most sacred moment, our vows, and then go behind my back? I clenched my fists, nails digging into my palms. I wanted to scream, to shake her, to make her confess everything. Instead, I just sat there, trembling, trying not to lose control. The worst part was how she smiled at me, so innocent during the wedding. All those photos of us laughing, smiling, promising forever. I stared at the screen, imagining her lying in bed with Mark, sharing secrets, touching each other like they meant nothing. That thought made my stomach churn worse. I felt betrayed, furious, like I'd been punched in the gut. I knew I couldn't confront her yet. Not like this. I needed a plan, a way to catch her in the act if she tried to deny it. But the truth was, I was already planning my revenge. I couldn't forgive her, not after this. The trust was shattered, broken into tiny pieces I didn't think I could ever piece back together. As I sat in the dim glow of my phone, the silence was deafening. I kept replaying her words, her smile, the kiss we shared before she left for her business trip. I could still smell her perfume on her jacket, sweet, seductive, a lie. I was so numb I didn't notice my jaw clenched or the way my fists had gone tight again. This wasn't going to end quietly. I could feel it in my bones. She'd lied, betrayed me, and now I was going to make her pay. The question was how. I looked around the room. My mind was racing, cold and sharp. I needed to be careful, calculated. I wasn't just going to walk away, no, I was planning something that would hit her where it hurt. The thought of her face when she finds out, I know everything makes my blood boil. I knew. I had to move fast. Before she caught on, before she spun her web of lies tighter. I was going to make her regret ever crossing me. The pieces were falling into place and I already had a plan forming. But for now I just sat there, clutching her phone, feeling the weight of betrayal crush my chest. Next part. I stayed up most of the night, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment I'd ever shared with Lisa, trying to find some thread of hope, some reason why she'd do this. But the more I thought about it, the clearer it became. This wasn't a mistake. It was a choice, deliberate and calculated, and I was furious at how easily she had lied to my face. By dawn, I'd already decided I wouldn't confront her right away. No, I needed to be smart. I needed to set a trap, catch her in the act if I could. I began laying out my plan carefully. I had to be subtle, precise. I knew her habits, her routines. I knew her phone was her weakness, her secret weapon. That's where I had to start. I got up, poured myself a strong coffee, the bitter taste waking me up even more. My hands still trembled a little, but my mind was sharp now. I was going to find out everything, piece by piece, without her suspecting. I needed to see how far she'd go, how deep this affair ran, and I needed her to slip up. I decided to install a discreet app on her phone, one that would track her location, monitor her messages if she ever used her phone in a suspicious way. I already had the technical know-how. I'd done this kind of thing before for work. I didn't want her to know I was watching, at least not yet. This wasn't about spying for the sake of spying. It was about gathering evidence, about making her think she still had control while I slowly took it back. Over the next few days, I watched her every move. She went to work, came home late sometimes, and always had that glint in her eye, like she was hiding something. I saw her meet Mark more than once at a nearby coffee shop, always with some kind of code, a quick glance around before they slipped inside. I stayed hidden in the shadows, watching my own life unravel. One evening I was sitting in the living room when she got a text. My heart pounded. I slipped my phone out of my pocket quick and quiet and checked the message. It was from Mark again, something about a big night and keeping it secret. My jaw clenched so hard I thought I'd break a tooth. That was the confirmation I needed. She was lying to my face during the wedding, planning more behind my back. The betrayal cut so deep I could taste the metal of my own rage. I wanted to confront her then, right there, but I knew I had to be patient. No, I had to be smarter than her. I kept thinking about how I'd get her to slip up. I wanted her to think she still had the upper hand so I could catch her in the act. I started leaving little clues around the house. Her favorite perfume bottle in the laundry basket, a pair of her high heels just inside the door, things that seemed innocent but could serve as evidence later. I wasn't interested in petty revenge. I wanted her to see I was serious, that I knew everything. One night I found her phone on the kitchen counter charging. I tipped it slightly, just enough to see her notifications. There was another message from Mark. "Can't wait to see you tonight, be ready." That did it. I had what I needed. Now I just had to wait for the perfect moment to confront her. The tension inside me was like a coil tightening with every passing hour. I could feel my pulse pounding in my ears, my fists clenched so tightly my nails almost drew blood. I wanted to shake her awake and ask her how she could do this to me, to us, but I knew that would blow everything. No, patience. That's what I needed now. I kept telling myself I wouldn't be the fool who gets betrayed and does nothing. I'd set my trap and I'd make her pay. I started planning how I'd confront her, calm, controlled, but with steel in my voice. I was done playing nice. I was going to give her a taste of what betrayal really felt like. What I didn't expect was how quickly everything was about to escalate. I could see the wheels turning in my mind, each step bringing me closer to the moment I'd finally face her. And when that moment came, it would change everything for good. Next part. The day I finally decided to confront her was etched into my mind like a scar. I had everything set up, every detail meticulously planned. My goal was simple: catch her in the act and make sure she knew I had proof. No more hiding, no more pretending I didn't see the signs. I wanted her to understand that I knew, and I was done being played. That evening she left the house claiming she was going to a friend's for dinner. I watched her leave through the window, heart pounding in my chest like a drum. As soon as she was gone, I went straight for her purse, silent, quick. I found her phone tucked inside, still charging. I carefully took it, slipping it into my pocket. My palms felt sweaty, but my mind was clear. I was finally taking control. The plan was to pretend I didn't know anything, to wait until she came back. I'd invite her into the living room, act normal, but I'd have my phone ready. As soon as she pulled out her phone, I'd catch her in a lie. I wanted the moment to be perfect, the shock on her face worth every second of waiting. An hour passed. I sat on the couch, pretending to relax. My skin felt tight, my stomach tight, like I was holding something back. Then I heard the front door. She returned, looking nervous but trying to hide it. She slipped into the kitchen and I followed. "Hey," I said casually, trying to sound normal. "How was your dinner?" She hesitated, then shrugged. "Fine. Nothing special." I noticed her eyes flicker to her purse. "Did you have a good evening?" I asked, voice even but curious. She nodded, avoiding eye contact. "Yeah, just a girl's night, you know." I reached into my pocket, pulling out her phone. Her eyes widened in alarm. "Mind if I see your phone for a second?" She froze, then forced a small laugh. "What, why?" "Just want to check something," I said, voice steady. "I've been meaning to look at your messages." Her face went pale. "That's ridiculous." "Why would you do that?" I held her gaze, voice cool. "'Cause I already know what I'll find, and I want to see if you're honest with me." She hesitated again, then slowly handed over her phone. My hands trembled slightly as I unlocked it, knowing exactly what I was looking for. I scrolled through her messages, and there they were, more than I expected. Flirty texts, late-night plans, promises of secrecy. I saw her message to Mark, saying she'd see him tonight, with no mention of me at all. My throat tightened as I realized how deep this betrayal went. I closed her phone slowly, meeting her eyes. "So Lisa," I said softly, "you've been lying to me all along. During our vows, during every moment I thought was real, you've been sneaking around, hiding this from me." She looked like she wanted to say something, but no words came out. Instead, her face crumpled and I saw tears welling up. "Good, let her feel it. I want you to understand something," I continued. "This isn't just about cheating, it's about respect, trust. All the promises you made, I guess they didn't mean anything." Her voice trembled. "I didn't mean for it to happen, it was a mistake." "Save it," I cut her off sharply. "You lied to me right to my face during our wedding. You betrayed everything we were supposed to have. I've been planning this moment since I found out. You're not going to get away with it." Her shoulders shook as she cried harder. I felt a strange mix of anger and relief. Finally, I'd seen the truth with my own eyes, and now I could do something about it. I took a deep breath, letting the anger settle into a cold resolve. "You're leaving tonight," I said firmly, "and I want my ring back. Pack your things." She looked up at me, eyes wide with shock and heartbreak. "Please don't do this." "Oh, I'm doing this," I said, voice low and steady. "You've made your choice, now live with it." I turned and headed to the kitchen, grabbing the keys from the hook. As I walked past her, I felt a strange calm settle over me. The betrayal had been laid bare, and I was finally taking control. I handed her the keys. "Your stuff is in the guest room. Don't come back." I watched her pack in silence, feeling the weight of everything I was about to lose and the freedom I was about to gain. This was just the beginning, but I knew one thing for sure. I'd never let someone lie to me like that again. Next part. The night after she left, the house felt eerily quiet. Every corner echoed with memories I'd shared with Lisa. Her laughter on the couch, her scent lingering in the bedroom, the small things I'd taken for granted. Now, it all just felt like a dark, hollow shell. I sat in the living room, staring at the door she had just walked out of, my mind racing with 1,000 thoughts. I kept replaying everything I'd uncovered, the texts, the lies, her betrayal during our vows. It was hard to believe I'd been so naive, so blinded by love that I ignored all the warning signs. My stomach churned with a mix of rage and heartbreak. I was angry at her, furious that she'd lied so convincingly, but a part of me also felt hollow, like I'd lost a future I'd spent years building. As the night deepened, I finally allowed myself to think about what I would do next. Revenge wasn't just about hurting her, it was about reclaiming my dignity, making her understand what she'd lost. I knew I couldn't just let her go quietly and forget about everything. No, this had to be done in a way that left a mark, something that told her she'd crossed a line nobody ever should. I started mapping out my plan. First, I'd need to make her realize I knew everything. Then I wanted her to see her lies unravel publicly if I could manage it. I had to make her regret ever thinking she could betray me and get away with it. I also thought about the small things she'd taken, her jewelry, some clothes. I wasn't interested in revenge for material possessions, but I needed her to feel the loss. So I gathered her things and boxed them up, leaving the boxes outside her new place. Nothing big, just enough to remind her I was paying attention. But the main part of my plan, that was the tricky bit. I decided I'd send her a message, something that would make her realize I was always one step ahead. I wanted her to understand that her lies wouldn't keep her safe, that I was capable of exposing her if I wanted. I wanted her to feel her secrets slipping away. The next morning, I woke up early. I went to the local cafe and bought a small, anonymous gift, a keychain with a little lock on it. Then I wrote a short note. "You can't hide from what you've done. Consider this your reminder." I left the package at her new apartment door, placing it carefully so she'd find it when she left. I watched from a distance as she stepped out, saw the package, and hesitated before picking it up. Her brow furrowed and she looked around, confused. That slight flicker of doubt was exactly what I wanted. She knew I was watching, I had made sure of that. And then I saw her open the note and look at the tiny keychain. Her face twisted with frustration and worry. Good. She should be worried. She had lied, betrayed, and now she was starting to see the cracks in her perfect deception. I felt a bitter satisfaction, and for the first time since she left, a small flicker of control returned to me. I kept my distance over the next few days, watching her try to move on, but I was always there, lurking just out of sight. Every time she reached for her phone, I was ready. Every time she seemed to be hiding something, I was already one step ahead. One evening, I decided it was time for the final move. I had everything I needed, enough evidence, enough leverage. I wanted her to feel the full weight of her betrayal. I was going to confront her one last time, in a way she wouldn't forget. I arranged for a mutual friend to be nearby, someone she trusted and wouldn't suspect. I left a note for her to meet me at a quiet cafe downtown, just us. I wanted her to believe I was giving her a chance to explain herself, but really, I was setting the stage for the big reveal. The moment was coming. I could feel it clear in my bones. I was ready to show her that I was no fool, that I knew everything, and I wasn't going to let her walk away unscathed. The ball was in her court, and I planned to make her regret ever stepping over the line. Thinking about her, I realized I'd never looked at her the same way again. The trust was shattered, but I was finally taking back my power. And no matter what happened next, I knew I'd never be blindsided like this again. Next part. The day of the confrontation arrived faster than I expected. I had played my part perfectly, arranged the meeting, planted the evidence, and kept my nerves in check. My stomach was a knot of anticipation and rage. I kept telling myself this was the moment she'd finally see what she'd lost, that I wouldn't hold back anymore. I sat in the cafe early, nursing a black coffee that was bitter enough to match my mood. The quiet hum of conversation around me felt distant, like background noise to the storm inside. My phone buzzed. I glanced at it. A message from her, just 2 words, "Where?" I sent back a simple reply, "Downtown, 2 p.m." While I waited, I scanned the streets outside, watching for her. She arrived exactly on time, looking nervous. Her face was a map of guilt and confusion. Her eyes darted around, searching for me. When she saw me, her face twisted into a mixture of relief and dread. She hesitated before approaching. "You wanted to see me?" she asked, voice trembling. "Yeah," I said, taking a deep breath. "I think it's time we talk honestly. I've known everything, Lisa, every lie, every secret, and I've got proof. The texts, the evidence, all of it." Her mouth opened, then closed. She looked like she wanted to deny it, but the truth was written all over her face. She was caught. "You've been lying right to my face," I said, voice steady but hard. "During our vows, in every moment I thought you loved me, but you've been sneaking around with Mark, your boss. I saw the messages. I know what you did." Her eyes widened. I never meant for you to find out like this," she whispered. "Oh, you did," I snapped. "That's pretty clear since I've had to do all the work to figure this out. I played your game and I've got everything. The texts, the plans, the nights you spent with him. You thought you could hide it. You thought I'd never find out." She looked down, tears spilling over her cheeks. "I was stupid. It was a mistake. I was so overwhelmed and he made me feel special." "Stop," I cut her off sharply. "This isn't about excuses, it's about respect. And you threw that away, Lisa. How could you betray me like this? How could you lie during our vows, smile in my face, and then go behind my back?" She looked up, her voice trembling. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean for it to happen, I swear. I was weak, and I didn't want to lose my job or the life I thought I was building." I shook my head, feeling the rage boil inside me. You don't get to hide behind weakness now. You made your choice, and I'm done. I'm done being the fool who gets betrayed and says nothing. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a small envelope. Here's everything. You want to keep lying, keep pretending, that's fine, but the truth's out now. Everyone will know, and I'll make sure of it. Her eyes filled with despair. Please don't do this. I already did, I said coldly. This is the end. I want my ring back. Pack your things, you're leaving tonight. She stared at me in shock, speechless. Then her shoulders sagged and she looked defeated. You're serious? Oh, I am, I said, voice low but firm. And I won't be coming back to pick up the pieces. I deserve better than this, everyone does. I got up, leaving her sitting there, staring at the table. I knew I'd hit her hard, that she'd regret ever crossing me. The pain was sharp, but I felt a strange relief. At least now I could finally start healing without her lies poisoning everything. Walking away from the cafe, I felt a strange calm settle in. It was the kind of quiet that comes after a storm, brutal but necessary. I'd taken control, and now I had to decide what my next move was. Maybe I'd tell her family, maybe I'd keep it between us. Either way, she'd learn what it meant to betray someone's trust. I'd made sure she'd never forget this moment. The house was empty when I got back. I gathered her things, packed them into a box, and left it outside her new door. No note, she knew what it was. A final reminder that her lies had consequences. I closed the door behind her, took a deep breath, and let myself feel the weight of everything I'd just done. It was brutal but necessary. And honestly, I felt more alive than I had in months. The betrayal was out in the open, and I was finally free. Next part. The following days after the confrontation were a blur of mixed emotions. I'd taken control, finally, and the house was eerily quiet without her. For the first time in a long while, I could breathe without the weight of her lies pressing down on me. My mind kept replaying the moment I handed her the last of her things, watching her hesitate at the door, her face a mask of defeat and regret. It felt like I'd finally shut the door on that chapter of my life, but truthfully, I knew the scars would remain. I spent the first few days doing what I'd never really done before, taking time to reflect. I realized how much I had trusted her, how blindly I believed in the idea of us, and that blindness nearly destroyed everything. Honestly, I'd gone through a range of feelings: anger, sadness, relief, but mostly I felt a strange sense of liberation. I'd been haunted by her betrayal, but now I could finally see clearly. I was not just the victim, I was the one in control now. People often ask whether revenge truly makes you feel better. I can tell you, in my case, it did. Not because I wanted her to suffer, well, maybe a little, but because I needed to remind myself that I mattered, that I could see through the lies, that I could take back what was mine. And in the end, that was enough. I moved on without fanfare. I changed the locks, cut ties with her friends, those who knew the truth, and started focusing on myself. I got back into my hobbies, reconnected with old friends, and began rebuilding my confidence. It wasn't easy, but I knew I had to. Whatever pain I'd felt, I refused to let it define me. Looking back, I realize I was naive to think love could shield me from betrayal. But I also learned something about strength, that sometimes the only way to heal is to face everything head-on, no matter how ugly it gets. Her lies tried to drown me, but I stood tall, faced the storm, and walked out stronger. The biggest lesson I took away is that trust is fragile. When it's broken, the damage isn't just emotional, it changes how you see the world. But it also teaches you to be smart, to protect yourself, and to never ignore the warning signs. I'll never forget what I found or how it made me feel, but I will say this: I'm better off without her, and I'm finally learning to trust myself again. So if you're in a similar situation, here's my advice: don't let betrayal define you. Take back your power. Confront the truth, no matter how painful. And when the dust settles, focus on healing, because that's the real revenge, reclaiming your happiness and self-respect. Truth be told, I don't think I'll ever look at her the same way again. But I don't need to. I've learned that sometimes letting go is the most powerful act of all. And in the end, I know I'll be okay. That's all I've got. Stay strong and trust yourself enough to walk away when it's time.